Today we will show you how to create your own workflow within Milestone XProtect. Before we start, make sure you have installed Milestone XProtect and the Radinium Workflow plugin. For more help, please refer to the online installation guide. Open the Milestone Management Client. Make sure you have licensed the plugin via either the online or offline licensing methods. Verify that the license is active on the licensing page. We grant 3 workflow licenses valid for 30 days for testing our plugin. Click on Workflows. We will create an example workflow that interfaces with another Milestone Community Partner Analytic plugin that detects abandoned objects. When abandoned objects are detected, an event is triggered, launching a predefined workflow created according to your standard operating procedures. To create a workflow in the Workflows sub-window, right-click on Workflows and select Add New. Type in the workflow name, Abandoned Object Detected, and click OK. To create or modify the workflow, click on Create/Modify Workflow Process. The Process Editor window will open after loading. On the left is the elements that can be placed on the canvas. The Start Event element is already on the canvas. To create a user task that will be executed when the workflow triggers, expand the Activities drop-down list and click and drag the user task onto the canvas. Double-click and change its name to an appropriate value. In this case, Send Security to Investigate. To indicate the flow of the process, click on Start Event and note the arrow option that appears at the bottom right. Click, hold down and drag the arrow to the user task. This will create a flow between the start event and the user task. You can click and drag multiple elements at the same time. For this event, we need to have outcomes of the investigation started by the first user task, and there will need to be a process flow selected by the results of the initial investigation. As there are multiple possible paths after the investigation, we will constrain the outgoing flows to an exclusive gateway. There are multiple gateway types supported by Radinium Workflow, including exclusive, parallel, and inclusive. An exclusive triggers a single outgoing flow. A parallel triggers multiple outgoing flows. And an inclusive triggers all outgoing flows. For this workflow, let's create 3 options that will execute after a security investigation. Only one option can be chosen at a time, so we will use an exclusive gateway by dragging the gateway from the palette, dropping it onto the canvas, and dragging an arrow to it from the user task. Firstly, if the investigation shows that it would be prudent to call a bomb squad, we need to have a user task for that. Drag and drop the user task for calling the bomb squad to the canvas and name it Bomb Squad. Then drag the arrow from the exclusive gateway to the bomb squad user task and add a bend point to the line. Another option could be to call the owner if the bag has owner information and is safe to transport. For this, drag the user task for that to the canvas, name it Call Owner, add an outgoing arrow to the exclusive gateway, and add a bend in the line. Security might want to announce the collection of the bag on the PA system and check for identification on collection. In the case of the bomb squad being called out, if nothing dangerous is found, no further process will be followed. However, if there is a bomb in the bag, an evacuation will need to be triggered from the building management system, and we will need an event to be triggered. Drag another exclusive gateway onto the canvas to split the flow into 2 and connect them with the flow arrow. To indicate the end of the process, add End Event to the canvas, and if there is no danger, add a flow arrow from the exclusive gateway to that event to end the flow. In the event of an evacuation is required, we will need to trigger the Analytics event in Milestone XProtect. Drag Analytics event trigger task from the palette to the canvas and connect it to the exclusive gateway. Add a bend and link the process flow to end event via a flow arrow. We will also end the flow process by linking it to the end of the call owner user task by adding a flow arrow between them. We need to send a command or analytic event for a potential evacuation, which we can name Evacuation Command. Add a third option to the first exclusive gateway from the Send Security to Investigate event, in case nothing further needs to occur. The owner of the bag perhaps arrived during the process. Now we will create forms for each user task that will be seen in the Smart Client, as well as the flow logic for the form outcomes. Click the Send Security to Investigate user task, and at the bottom of the properties, click on the referenced form link. A list of existing forms will pop up. We want to create a new form, so click on New Form. Name the form and give it a unique form key. Let's call this form Security for Abandoned Object. The form key is used by the system to uniquely identify forms. Let's type in Security Object. On clicking Create Form, the form editor will display, showing the elements that may be included in the form on the left. Options include checklists, drop-down lists, text inputs, and radio selections. At the top are two tabs, Design and Outcomes. Design is the default tab containing the form's design and layout, and Outcomes shows the outcomes of the form, allowing the form to redirect logic flows to different paths in the workflow editor. Let's create a radio button field, which allows a single option to be selected from the list. Label the radio button, choose Situation, and note the required checkbox at the bottom of the settings. This checkbox forces the person filling in the form to select an option before allowing the form to be completed. To add some options to the radio button, click on Options and type in the options line by line. You can add as many as you need. Type any markings or identifications and was there danger or object suspicious as the two radio button options. These options will be exclusive. Click Close to finish editing. Add a multi-line text box for the control room operator to provide identification information to the form. Do not mark it as required, as there may be no identifying characteristics. Next, create 3 outcomes for the form by clicking on Outcomes and typing in 3 outcomes, namely potentially dangerous, owner information available, and no action. Click on Save, Save and Close Editor. Create a form for the Bomb Squad task by clicking on the Bomb Squad user task and the referenced form. Then click New Form, type in Bomb Squad for the form name and add an appropriate unique key, Bomb Squad. For this form, we'll create a checklist to help the operator by dragging the checkbox to the design of the form, typing in Call Bomb Squad on 10111 and marking it as required. Add another checkbox, Evacuation Required, so the operator notes if they initiated an evacuation. Now we can add Evacuate Area and do not evacuate outcomes. Save, save and close editor. The final form, call owner, can be created as before. Let us load a pre-configured form. Announce missing object that was previously created. It has 3 checkboxes, 2 of which are required. There are no outcomes and the process continues to the end where necessary. If an evacuation must be called from Milestone XProtect, we will need an analytic event to trigger on the event server. We need to name the event in the evacuation command analytic event trigger task by typing the name evacuate area as a single word in the event name field. For this to trigger, it needs to match the analytic event in XProtect Management Client. Next, let's configure the control logic for the process. Click on the arrows on the model editor to set whether they are followed by the process instance, depending on the form selection. Click on the arrow linking the exclusive gateway to the bomb squad user task and the flow condition in the properties window. First, select the form which determines the outcome of this flow arrow. In this case, send security to investigate. This form outcome will determine whether the selected arrow will be used. The outcome can now be selected from the second drop-down. In this case, potentially dangerous. Now, when the send security to investigate form has been filled in previously and the outcome was potentially dangerous, this flow will be actioned. Save. Next, click on the user task, call owner, and select the flow condition from the send security to investigate form with the condition owner information available. Save. For the final flow condition, select the form send security to investigate with the no action outcome. Save. For the other 2 options, select the arrow leading to the evacuation command element and set the condition from the form bomb squad with the outcome evacuate area and save. For the final arrow, select the bomb squad form with the do not evacuate option. Flow arrows that do not require flow conditions can be left as is and they will automatically continue. Save. Press save and close. Now we will set up the link from the Rule Engine to the workflow by triggering the workflow from the Milestone XProtect rules system. You can use a third-party plugin application, an analytic event, or other types of events to trigger a workflow. For this example, we will use a user-defined event to manually trigger the workflow. Let's name this user-defined event Abandoned. Next, create a rule to trigger a workflow instance on the user-defined event. In Site Navigation under Rules and Events, select Rules. To create a new rule, right-click on the Rules sub-item and select Add a Rule. The default for a new rule is Perform an action on an event. Click on the underlined word, Event, to select the source. Then select External Events, User-Defined Events, and Abandoned for the specific event source. Click Next to navigate to the timing settings, not used for now, and Next again to select the action. Now scroll down to the bottom in the Rule Engine to show the Trigger Workflow Process option and select it. When the option has been added, you will see the rule description change and the option to select a workflow or a list of workflows is added. Click on Workflow Processes to select the relevant workflows. You can trigger multiple workflows from a rule, but in this case, we will trigger an Abandoned Object Detected workflow. Click OK to complete the workflow adding process. Let's give the rule the name Abandoned Object Rule and click on Finish to complete the rule creation process. Navigate to the workflow in the Workflow list in the MIP Plugins node in the Site Navigation window and view the workflow by clicking on Create or Modify Workflow Process. One of the elements in the workflow editor is the evacuation command event trigger. To send an analytic event to the event server with the event name Evacuate Area, create an analytic event with the corresponding name to be triggered by the workflow. Close. So, expand Rules and Events in the Site Navigation window. Click on Analytic Events, right-click on the middle window, and select Add New. Give it the exact same name as the event name in the workflow element, Evacuate Area. This event will now be triggered by the workflow when the block is encountered and can be added to the Rule Engine or Alarm Engine as required. Lastly, make sure the Analytics Event Engine is running by navigating to Tools, Options. Scroll to the right to Analytics Events and ensuring Analytics Events is enabled with default port 9090. Press OK. In the next video, we'll see how this all fits together by setting up and running it in the Smart Client.